Good evening. Thanks for joining our deep dive tonight, where we're going to talk about the importance of rest and relaxation. So, I immediately told myself that the timing, we're in the March deep dive, which we're really springing into action, but being that we are talking about rest and relaxation this month, I feel like it's important to note that as we do enter the more active season of spring, we want to think about the importance of the rest and relaxation that happens in the wintering months that allows everything to spring into action. So, because many things go dormant and hibernate during the winter months, they're able to preserve their resources, take in what they need without extending anything out. So, if we think about the importance of that in our own living being self, very similar. In order to have energy to do all of the things that life requires or asks of us, we have to have energy for everything we do. So if we aren't resting and relaxing and resetting and replenishing, we're going to not have the resources, the fuel, the energy that we need to take care of the things that are important to us. So there is certainly a cycle of rest and pushing energy, that the cycle of that we must have one to have the other. And we can't only go, go, go without ever stopping to rest. Think about, I use car metaphors too much. You can't just drive on a trip for miles and miles and miles without stopping to refuel. And that stopping to refuel is what many of us don't prioritize in our own body, particularly those of us who maybe are accustomed to placing a lot of demands on ourselves. So it's important to remind ourselves about this importance of rest and relaxation so that we don't just get caught in that race of doing too much and not ever just stopping to just allow ourselves to be or to rest. So we talked about this in an earlier deep dive last year, and I referenced a lot of work from Sandra Dalton Smith, who wrote Sacred Rest, a delightful book that talks about the 7 different types of rest that we need. So I might speak to that some in this talk, and as well as Tricia Hersey, who wrote Resistance. So resistance is rest is resistance. Sorry. And so I'm going to share some of her feedback from her work as well. And if we just begin this talk by thinking of the reasons why it's hard to rest, I think if we looked at the cultural norms, some of our family influences, what messages we were taught about doing as maybe you grew up. There's a lot of that goes into maybe some of our expectations to work hard and master our to-do list. And I was talking to a colleague just this week who was talking about her family and how this played out, and that it was successful Saturdays that their parents would call it. You might remember, like maybe I recall myself, Saturday mornings, it's like, what all can we get done? We're going to do the cleaning and the yard and the housework and all the things. And, if you do all the things, the sign of success is at the end of the day, you've completed a lot of tasks and you're very tired. And so that maybe is some of that expectation that we have on ourselves, is that the more I can do, the more I can squeeze into a day, the more I can squeeze into an hour, the more successful I am, if that's many things during that time. Now, I know some of you who know me are going, and why do you think you're qualified to talk about this? Because that's how you live your life. As I say to many people, the reason why it's important for us to read about the things that we struggle with ourselves and learn and in doing this talk, it reminds me, as I hope I'm reminding you, that even if my natural state is go go go, the more I talk about, read about, put a new neural pathway in about the benefits and the importance of rest, the more I'm going to start to write a new experience for myself, the more I'm going to allow myself to listen to these other messages that may be different from what I grew up knowing or what culture has maybe seemingly expected of me. So I feel like many of us may fall into the category of overdoing. And when we think about overdoing a muscle, maybe you work physically too hard and now your back's sore. We can overdo and overtax our brain as well if we have too many tasks going on at once without stopping to rest and reset. So I use the metaphor of the computer or our phones for this a lot, where you're accustomed to opening tabs. I know my child gets my phone, or husband may say, "Why are so many tabs open on your search or on your phone?" Our machines, our technology can't perform as optimally when we leave windows, tabs, things, our browser searching too many things at once. It can cause it to not perform as well. And so when you think about shutting down your phone, resetting your computer, those things that help it perform better, using that same approach to apply to yourself of asking within, when have I allowed myself a reset? So we really have to work through some of the resistance to that, which is really where Tricia Hersey's title of her book, The Rest is Resistance, comes from. She talks about the grind culture mentality, and that we actually have to resist the urge to do more and more and more in order to rest. So it's resisting just going without any limitations and actually recognizing a healthy amount of going and doing that is good for you, and resisting the urge to do more and being willing to seek out and provide the rest that you need for restoration of your own cells, well-being, mental capacity. So when we think about why rest is important, we really need to think about our actual cells in our body. The rest and digest process is what allows our cells to have rest to restore each night in sleep, for instance. So while we're asleep, our organs are doing cleaning out, resetting, refueling, retooling to be at optimal performance and optimal well-being. So if we don't take the time to get adequate sleep or other types of rest, our bodies do not repair as easily. You may find yourself experiencing more sickness. Our immune system can become compromised. Our stress hormone cortisol can be produced at higher amounts when we're constantly under stress and the go go go, and that can lead to increased inflammation, many other problems. So really thinking about what our body needs, what our cells need to repair and recover. And, let's say the liver, for instance, or our digestive organs, in order for everything that we've taken in that day, even our food intake, to be processed and cleaned out of our system, we need that adequate rest time. So, the importance of sleep. So if you're missing sleep, if you have a type of job that doesn't allow for good sleep, maybe swing shift or, nurses or working in the ER, places of work that require 24-hour operation. A lot of times employees have a lot of disrupted sleep. And you can see a lot more physical ailments or, effects on your emotional or mental well-being when you're not getting regular, adequate sleep. So sleep certainly is one type of rest. We'll get into some other types of rest, but if you are experiencing inadequate rest, you may notice chronic fatigue, brain fog, chronic pain from too much tension. I mentioned inflammation, autoimmune issues are very common with people who have had too much inflammation and not enough rest. You might experience dysregulated emotions, different highs and lows, or more significant anxiety or depression, and as well as a lot of digestive issues with your system not being able to have enough rest to process everything through it. So, beginning to think about how you yourself might be experiencing rest and relaxation could be a good question to begin to pick apart. Maybe asking within, when am I allowing myself the restorative rest that I need to be at my optimal well being? So, really beginning to think about how your day looks, starting with your sleep, how is the rest I'm getting each day preparing me for the morning? So in the morning, am I waking up feeling still tired, like I didn't even rest? Maybe your rest is being impaired at night in your sleep. Lots of people do sleep studies when that begins to happen to see how they're sleeping, because your quality of sleep might be disrupted through sleep apnea or other medical things that could be going on, teeth grinding, heartburn, things that might be keeping you awake at night that are causing your sleep to be disrupted. So when you start there and then go into your morning, so thinking about from there how your day, are you one that jumps up, feet hit the floor, and you're rush, 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 rushing to get ready, rushing to get out the door, buzzing into the office or school, work, 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 rush out, go to the practices, go to the things, do all the things, socialize, get home, bone tired, lay down, reset, start all over? That looks like my day sometimes. Even if that is your day, what are the things that you could do to place moments of rest? So these moments don't have to be too elaborate. Rest can be a 5-minute deep breathing, closing your eyes, tuning out all senses. It can be walking outside for 2 minutes in between appointments or meetings that you have, where you just get 2 minutes of fresh air, connect with nature, do a mindfulness scanning of, the things that are around you outdoors. It can be as, little, those minutes or seconds that you take. Many of us on our Apple phone, you may get the, stand up for 2 minutes or do a mindfulness or breathing reminders, listening to those. If it's giving you a message, how can you listen? Your body can give you a message to let you know what you need. For instance, maybe you yawn, which lets you know that you need something. So maybe you get a full glass of water, maybe you stand up and stretch. How do we listen to some of those signals and some of those alerts that let us know we need a break? Maybe you are experiencing a lot of tension or headache during your day, letting you know what, maybe I've looked at the screen too much. Maybe I need to go walk outside. Maybe I need to close my eyes. Maybe I need to listen to a meditation, take some time away from this activity that I've been overly engaged in to allow some rest. So, working in some of those little exercises, as well as thinking about, all of the classes that we offer at LiveWell that really can help with resetting. Each third Sunday, Diane Free's been doing the restorative yoga classes, which is a very neat opportunity to experience some lying down postures for extended minutes where you fully allow your body to be supported and in a restful state. These kind of classes are what really can heal, regenerate our cells, and help us feel healthier, more alert, um, more present, carrying less tension, generally more at ease. Or, any of the yoga or meditation classes or practices that are intended to help your body be able to find that balance of effort and ease. Each yoga class, for instance, ends with that lying posture called Savasana in yoga, where you just lie in what's called corpse pose and close your eyes and only tune in to allow your body those minutes of rest. So there's many ways to begin to experiment and try new things that might help you have some restful practices. Journaling, writing, prayer, massage therapy, Reiki. There's different herbal remedies that help with relaxation, ashwagandha, magnesium, acupuncture is one that I'm doing that's really providing some relief for me right now. You can really begin to explore with a lot of different modalities. And we have some wonderful LiveWell guides who are available to help you develop any of these practices that you might be interested in adding to your toolkit. Many of them have expressed the excitement about maybe even helping individuals one on one if you're not quite ready for a class and you just want to begin to learn more about how one of these practices could look in your life. So you have a wonderful opportunity as a part of the LiveWell community to explore with some of these practitioners in some of their classes, which are all suited for beginners, where you can feel welcome and safe in our LiveWell studio at Lifeline, where many of you probably are already comfortable with our building and our area. We really are committed to helping our classes have that same safe, comfortable feel so that anyone can walk in as a beginner and not feel intimidated and to feel really connected to others that are there for, the same purpose. So, think about what resources you have to promote rest and what you might want to add to your toolkit. We especially have many retreats out at Woodhaven, one coming up on April 7th, that is going with this theme of rest and recharge, where getting out in nature without an agenda, listening to what your body needs, if it needs movement, because that's the thing about what I love about the Sacred Rest book. I know I mentioned it earlier and said I would get to it, that listening to what our body needs, because sleep and stillness are not the only types of rest. So if you're getting plenty of sleep and other, still forms of rest and are continuing to experience some symptoms of being depleted, it might be that you need rest in other areas. So in that book, Sacred Rest, she talks about emotional rest, spiritual rest, creative rest, mental. Oh, this is the time I probably should read a list. Talked about her work so much, I thought I'd be able to rattle them off easily. But give me just a moment. And we do have in our resources where we'll have the chart of all of the types of rest because it has really been helpful. So turn to that in the resources if you haven't. Yeah, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, sensory, and creative rest. She talks about all these different types of rest. So we'll have the chart in our resources so that you can look at that. And she also has a rest questionnaire survey that you can take on her website that we'll put a link to and answer those questions, and you'll see where your deficits are in your rest. So I say all that to mean that, for instance, if you're experiencing um, social fatigue, you know, she talks about feeling depleted from too many interactions with people that are not meaningful and maybe just, or your social battery is low. Maybe you hear yourself or others say, and that maybe you're finding yourself wanting to isolate or feeling lonely, detached because you're just having too much interaction that's not meaningful. So rather than isolating as a way to get social rest, she really talks about having meaningful connections with others. So maybe a one on one talk with a very dear person who warms your soul, so to say, is actually a way to get some social rest where you're feeling really a connection. So there's different ways she talks about things that we might need. Creative rest, so to say. She talks about maybe having creative fatigue because you've just really missed, nothing's really happening that's exciting you or being passionate about. And so what can help for that is going out in nature and really taking in the beauty of the things around you and doing creative practices that help kind of get the juices flowing there. So when we do things like the retreat, particularly ones that have no agenda and where we just want you to listen to what you need, do you need to just lie in a hammock and read a book? Um, do you desire to try a new skill of fishing, or do you want to play, or do you want to get some movement and hike, or do you want to sit on the porch and rock and talk with someone? Do you want to lie on your back and look up at the sky and dream about possibilities that would be creative endeavors for you to explore? Really thinking about how to just open up to a blank slate of no agenda, of just allowing yourself to experience whatever it might be that brings you to a reset, restore, rejuvenated place. So many of you maybe have attended some retreats and you have walked away feeling some of those reads. I feel like all of the restorative words, I was reading some of my notes, start with the RE, which is maybe that returning to a state of being that is where it all began, returning to a fresh, um, a my mind is wishing I had my notes in front of me. That's what it's wishing. But think of all those, yes, RE words that when you think about rest and relax, there's a lot of them. So, try to think about stopping making excuses and giving yourself a reboot. I'm going to read one of Trisha Hersey's quotes that I definitely wanted to end on tonight. This is the beginning of the introduction of Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hersey, who created the NAP ministry. I wish you rest today. I wish you a deep knowing that exhaustion is not a normal way of living. You are enough. You can rest. You must resist anything that doesn't center your divinity as a human being. You are worthy of care. With that, thank you for taking the time to listen, prioritize your rest, well being, and providing yourself the care that you need. We look forward to seeing you maybe in some of our classes designed to help you build rest and relaxation into your life.